Episode 3, we've made it, a trilogy for the Property Pulse podcast with the two Russells. I'm Russell Jervis.
And I'm Russell Quirk.
And today we're joined yet again by another powerful female in the property industry in the week where we've had the Women in Estate Agency event, we've had International Women's Day, we've had Mother's Day, now we've got Alice. Who the hell, I kept it clean, is Alice. Alice Bullard from Nested.
Hi.
Welcome
Thank
to
you so
the
much
Property
for having
Pulse
me. Thank
podcast.
you. I get that all the time. Alice, who the hell is Alice? Obviously,
They don't say hell, though.
They don't say hell,
They say the
no.
other
But
thing.
I do get that a lot, which is fair.
And I know we've had a few technical hitches today, so we've kept you waiting a little bit. But you were telling us a little story about a time you had to wait on a film set, so people won't know all of your history. So, Alice, take us back to those days.
Oh, it was a very, very long day. I had one line. It was in a film with Danny Dyer. It got nowhere, and he basically pushed past me, and I had to say, "Oi, watch it."
And this is because you're a trained actor, so you were going to be Kent's answer to Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, I gave it up way too early, probably. I mean, you had to, in order to make it, you have to keep going, and I didn't have the patience for it. I wanted to be successful, and I kept getting a lot of knockbacks, so from changed my course of direction.
And you changed that course of direction, to estate agency. So tell us about your property journey, your journey into estate agency, which will then bring us to 6 years now at Nested. So where did it all begin?
So it began on a Saturday, sometime in July, after I came back from university and I needed the cash. My mum's best friend was a branch manager at a local countrywide branch, and I just said, look, I'm happy to come in, man the phones, and that's what I did. I then got given a set of keys to go and do viewings, which is insane. But I then all of a sudden started selling loads of properties. I wasn't getting paid for it, it was an hourly rate. And I was like, actually, I'm seeing all of this commission that I could be earning. Why don't I give it a go? So I did it alongside my acting career. I took a 6-month break, did a theatre tour around the UK, loads of fun, but utterly exhausting, like 7 or 8 shows a week. And I just thought, and I was living out a suitcase because I was here, there and everywhere. And I was like, do you know what? I just bought a flat. I'd just got engaged, and I was like, I just want to be at home. And I really enjoyed estate agency. So fast forward quite a few years later, here I am.
So Countrywide to John D. Wood to Nested. And in my research for today, excuse my ignorance, Nested 6 years now. So
6.5 years.
Feels to have gone incredibly quickly.
It has, 6.5 years. So 7 years in September. I joined Nested because whilst I loved my time at Countrywide and I learned a lot and met some fantastic people, I kind of wanted to get out of that corporate side of things, which I think a lot of people are doing now. We'll probably come on to that later. But this was 6.5 years ago, and I was already kind of a bit bored of the corporate scene. And I walked into Nested. I got introduced by an old colleague who happened to be there. I walked in, and we were it was just like a completely electrifying environment. And I was like, wow, I could be an estate agent in this environment. And I just I'm in. I'm happy to, make the teas, clean the toilets, whatever I need to do to get in here. And fast forward 6.5 years later.
So you were a year and a half before Russell tried to do that big self-employed hybrid model with eMove, weren't you? So you beat him to it, Alice.
Well, so we only became self-employed really beginning of last year. Really, the model up until that point, we went through a few changes. It was a loan at one point, a bridging loan company, and the thing that's really remained consistent is the tech side. So we were backed by some quite big tech giants, wanted us to build technology for both sellers and agents. We've built a fantastic CRM that we've called the Nest. It's linked to a fantastic app for our sellers, and now we've got this great bit of technology. And we thought, how do we get this in all 4 parts of the UK? Self-employment was kind of becoming quite a big thing beginning of last year, and we looked at that and thought, that's great for the customer, it's great for agents, it's great for Nested. Let's go down that path, and that's where we are today.
Because Nested started as something different, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it's very startup-y, as you say, raised a fair few quid, 5 million quid or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So raised quite a bit of money, but it started as something different. What was that?
That was the bridging loan company. So it was a sort of we called it breaking the chain. So the idea was that sellers would put their properties on the market with Nested. After a certain amount of time, 28 days, they'd be able to pull down a loan that they can then use to buy their onward purchase.
Right, so they wouldn't have to sell in order to buy.
Yeah, Nested would then continue to sell. Any upside would go to them. Any downside, Nested would take the loss. So that sounds like a great proposition.
I know it was before your time, so I say this without any responsibility falling on you. Why didn't that work?
So it wasn't before my time. That's why, I joined Nested.
But before you were running Nested, right?
Oh, before I was running Nested, yeah.
Because you started off at Nested and you've moved up pretty quickly through the ranks, right? Yeah.
So it didn't work for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we know the property market's like this. And when you're giving out a loan, a serious amount of money, you're doing that on the basis of what is this property going to sell for in 6 to 9 months' time? And we all know that within a very short space of time, things can dramatically change. Now, Nested was taking the loss of anything underneath the loan amount that was given out. So that led to quite a lot of losses. But equally, it's a really hard model to scale across the UK.
It's also very capital intensive, right? So a deal involves hundreds of thousands of pounds as opposed to being an estate agent where you don't own the stock and you're just taking a fee.
Like
so it's
writing millions of pounds of loans a week, like millions and millions and millions. So it was a great model. It was something that sellers really loved, and we had to turn away the majority of people that came to Nested. That's the thing, we had a lot of red tape because the money wasn't Nested's money, it was someone else's money, and therefore we had to no properties that were more than 4 stories high, in a council block, at least less than 125 years, had any history of subsidence or Japanese knotweed. And actually, when you think about it, you think about the London property market, that's a lot of people then that all of a sudden discounted, and that made it hard.
It's funny how, a lot of companies pivot, right? So PayPal, the Elon Musk business, didn't start off as the business it is now. Coca-Cola apparently didn't start off as a soft drink, it was medicinal and so on. I think not only is there nothing wrong with a pivot, and there's nothing wrong with the failure almost that leads to that pivot. And I know, look, my name in the property industry is synonymous with failure before you say it in the comments, I know that. But failure is a good thing. So I think the fact that Nested started off with a vision in a kind of startup-y entrepreneurial sort of way, Matt, the boss, who obviously has a fantastic track record actually of being a very successful entrepreneur with Go Cardless and so on, had a go, tried something, and then has the wisdom, the fortitude really to say, well, okay, I've tried that. Yeah, that doesn't work. And then rather than giving up, thinking, okay, well, what have I learned from that? What can I now pivot into? Right. So I think that's to be applauded.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting there you use the word vision. Like the vision of Nested has remained consistent throughout the whole of its time. So
I want to come to this, right?
Yeah.
I want to come to it before you kind of give us the sales pitch. Let me ask you the question, right?
Okay.
So I'm a fan of the self-employed model.
Yeah.
I think you are,
yes,
obviously, either as an agent or as a recruiter.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the self-employed model because I think it pays the agent what they deserve, frankly. No disrespect to the corporates, but corporates taking 90% of the fee, I think that's yesterday's model, frankly. Yeah. But there are now a number of self-employed models. There's your own, there's EXP, there's Keller Williams. In the next episode, by the way, we're going to be talking to Steph Walker, your compatriot at the agency. So what is different about Nested? Why is Nested, insofar as your pitch to agents that you're trying to recruit, why Nested and not EXP or Keller Williams or Hortons?
Yeah. First of all, before I answer that, I personally think it's great that there are lots of different options out there for people that want to go into the self-employed model space. I equally think it's not right for everyone, and I'm really, really open about that. Our model is not to be the biggest. Right. Don't get me wrong. I would love to be the biggest in the future. But right now, my goal is not to be the biggest. It's to be the best. I want the best estate agents to be running their business with Nested, right? That's what I want. So I want the best estate agents out there to be choosing Nested.
So it's not about volume.
It's not about volume.
So you haven't got a target number of agents you want to reach?
Yeah, I've got a business plan. I absolutely do. I'm going to keep that to myself. But it's not.
You can't do that here. You've got to tell us everything.
It's not to be the biggest. Like I'm not sitting here saying I want 500 agents by 2 years' time. I'm not. If we manage to get there.
So you're having a go at Adam Day there?
If we manage. I'm actually that was a bit of a dig at someone else that I saw the other day. It wasn't Adam. Again, take my hats off to Keller Williams and EXP were the two models that brought that model to the UK, right? Especially EXP are the ones that have actually made it more of a well-known.
Well, the difference is EXP are expanding, Keller Williams are contracting. Keller Williams now have half the amount of agents they did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, just saying, it's true.
Anyway.
We can't get off the Keller Williams debate. Yeah. But I think you're right with the self-employed piece is there is a place for it. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
And not everyone wants to go there. You know, I've got very close friends who run their own estate agency businesses, which I say to them, you are self-employed because you're reliant on, generating income continually. And there are people who fit absolutely into the corporate, as we call it, ladder. They want to climb, they want the competitions, they want that. They thrive on being together. So it's interesting on how this will pan out over the next year or so.
I haven't answered the question.
No,
though.
you haven't. Let me push. So I would say that even though that's your philosophy, and you're saying that your philosophy is not about volume, it's about productivity and quality of agent.
Quality of agents and cash revenue.
But if I'm an agent, I don't care about that, right? I don't care what your vision is particularly. I care about what's in it for me, right? From an estate agent's point of view, that's going to jump from Countrywide to Fox and Stew.
I slightly disagree. Because I think that for someone that's deciding to go from high street estate agent where they've done extremely well, got a very, very good reputation, and they're making the leap into being a self-employed estate agent, they want to know that whoever they partner with is going to want them to succeed and make lots of money. And I'm sitting here as MD at Nested saying, every single person that we say yes to, who say yes to us, because we don't bring on anyone.
Do you say no to people?
We do say no to people. Yeah, we do. Absolutely, we do. For two reasons.
Can you name any names?
No. Firstly,
I told you to be nice.
Really pushing, isn't he?
The technical hitch has not helped us all here, has it? So.
But I'm basically saying to them, I believe that I can make you succeed, and the success rates in our industry, in our sector, in our self-employed sector industry at the moment are not or haven't been fantastic, and I'm on the mission to change that. If someone's going to jack in their job and move to being a self-employed estate agent, they can be rest assured that if they pick Nested, we are going to do absolutely everything we possibly can to make sure they don't have to go back there again.
What does that look like? Sorry, Ross. What does that look like in bare bones pitch from you to the agent?
Well, first of all, we say no to quite a few people, right? I've got a bit of resource behind me. I've got some people resource. I've got marketing. I've got tech, and there's only so much that can go around, right? And if I'm all of a sudden bringing on 20 agents a month, 17 of which I don't actually feel confident we can support anyway, or maybe are not right for the business, I've then got a team of support staff still having to support all of those people rather than concentrating on 3 people that we're really, really certain are actually going to make money and stick at it. And I think that there's, coming back to the ethics of this sector, of the self-employed sector, I think that we're treading a very, very fine line at the moment as leaders to make sure that people don't come in completely unaware of what's to come and the expectations. And the support point is a really, really important thing, because those estate agents that have been very successful in the branch, they've never had to do loads of marketing. They don't know how to do that.
Admin or compliance.
Admin, compliance, et cetera. Yeah, exactly.
I've got 3 questions running through my head. But firstly, for Nested, if I'm a car salesman, will you take me? Will you take me to become an estate agent? Will you train me and support me?
No, we won't. I have taken a few people on that haven't got estate agency experience, but they've come from other property sectors. Okay. But they're people that have gone off who've then done a course, and there's loads of courses out there that I think that actually, if you're willing to learn, becoming from a solicitor or a mortgage broker to being a estate agent, I think is absolutely doable. In order to be successful as a self-employed estate agent, you've got to be able to do the actual role of an estate agent and know the property industry and give a really good experience. You've got to be able to generate leads. So you've got to be a good marketer. And then you've also as well got to run your own business. So you've got to know that. So there's 3 things. So just because you've come from a high street estate agent and you've got the estate agency knowledge doesn't mean you're going to succeed if you haven't got the marketing and you haven't got the business acumen.
So you want someone with some form of property experience?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, car salesman, no.
Have you had a bad experience with car sales?
No, I haven't. I've had a great experience with car salesmen. And I'm sure that, if people do come to us that haven't got that, and we either push them in a direction of a model that say they can support them. And I've given loads of referrals over to some of those models who will bring those people on. Or I push them in the direction of courses, or I say to them, go and work at a high street estate agent for several years and get that knowledge.
Last week on LinkedIn, there was quite a lively debate, I think, around how long it takes to generate income, which I think you commented on.
Yeah.
So how long would you say it's going to take me as an experienced estate agent to generate revenue? What do you set as expectation?
So everyone is different, which is why I get a bit annoyed when people say, oh, it's going to take you about X, because that person could come in and not start actually doing the things that they need to be doing until 2 or 3 months later. You don't know. They might say they'll come in from day one. You've got to start generating those leads in order to get going and kind of give you your best chance to get revenue as long as possible. We don't know that. The thing that I say to you covered it last week, I think not last week, but the week before in your podcast, you said that you need to have 12 months aside.
12 months. I said, don't be bamboozled by this 4 to 6 months thing that some platforms sell you, because it's not true.
It's not true. You can be making some money in that time. Absolutely you can. But where you've come from and where you want to be, there's a reason why you're coming from where you are to where you want to be. And that's to push yourself and to get, most likely in most cases, earn more money. Therefore, that's not going to come to at least 12 months. And that's fine. I think, again, if you're seriously considering becoming a self-employed estate agent, you have to understand that you do need to take a step back in order to take a step forward. And I think that's just not just within self-employment, but if you think about, I don't know, recently, for example, I've just downgraded my car. So I've gone from one car, I'm not going to name what cars they are because I'm going to be judged, but from one car down to a lesser car. And that's because I want to take a jump up. I've got a car that I want to buy in several years' time. So what I've done is I've taken a step back.
To take a leap forward.
To take a leap forward, exactly. And I think that you have to in life, if you want to keep pushing yourself, you do have to do that. And
it's investing in yourself.
Investing in yourself, exactly. And I think that's precisely the thing that I think sometimes people come in, they get sold this dream. The dream is there, but the journey to the dream looks completely different sometimes to the journey that what is given and perceived.
How long would you encourage me to have living money? If I need £2,000 a month to live, how many months would you want me to have?
Yeah, I would say then have 24 grand behind you off the back of that.
Have 12 months.
Yeah.
And what's the payback on that? So let's say I'm earning 50k, 60k as a lister for X, and that's going to be a constant. So in the next 12 months, I'm going to lose the 60, pay out 24. So I'm 84k the wrong way, I guess. Am I?
No, so not necessarily. So I think the thing
what's
is...
What's the reward there after that in terms of getting my payback?
Yeah, I mean, like, I very rarely do I see estate agents who don't earn any money in the first 4 to 6 months. And that's where the 4 to 6 months comes from.
Well, the building pipeline, which regardless banks anyway.
But then if you look at an estate agent that's moved from high street to a self-employed model, and after 6 months you look about the cash revenue that they've brought in for themselves, if you then divide that by 6 months, all of a sudden it is really low, right? So I think the 4 to 6 months thing comes from agents going, oh, you need 4 to 6 months, and by 6 months you're bringing on this revenue. Yes, you are. But if you actually look about over the last 6 months, so you do that as an average, that is way lower than what you've been earning, but you are still earning money. So yeah, look, you're sacrificing your salary, your paid salary, 60 grand. Car. You're having to pay out money on, and generate leads as well. Again, you've got upfront costs that you need to be doing, etc. But I can see, and we've got a very successful estate agent who's been with us now 2 years, who's earning, again, I don't want to say those numbers because it's not my place, but probably about 3 or 4 times than what they were earning before. Yeah.
So
easy. Yeah.
So the payback is in the over, and obviously you can't look at a self-employed career as a year thing. It's a 5 to 10 year thing. So over
the 5 business, aren't you? That's my
so
point.
Over the 5 to 10 years, you're going to earn proportionally much more that then negates that pain at the beginning. And of course, not forgetting, it gives you the flexibility of knowing that you're working for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lifestyle thing as well, right? I think you get to a point where you think, well, actually, I don't want to go in on a Saturday. I don't want to have to be chained to my desk. And that is a really big thing. That's why I think self-employment has really taken off over the last 12 to 14 months, because 12 to 24 months, because that flexible working that has come from the pandemic, and people really appreciating the time with their family, not being chained to their desk in an office for the sake of it. And that's why I think there's more and more of these estate agents. I also think there's the domino effect where a lot of the people that are still within high street estate agency are looking at some of the success stories and going, I can do that.
There's a tipping point. I wonder what that tipping point is. So if right now there's 50,000 estate agents in Britain, roughly, and there's 1,000 or so in self-employed, if you look at all the different models, what do you genuinely think that tipping point is, that once you get as a sector, let's say, across all of the platforms to what? 10%, so therefore 5,000. Do you think then that becomes the catalyst that then makes self-employed start to look a bit like it does in the US, as in the dominant sector?
Yeah, maybe. I really hope, I really hope that in 5 years' time we're looking back at this and we're well into like the 25 to 30% of agents within the self-employed model. I really hope so. I think if you look at the trajectory from where we were 12, 18 months ago to where we are now, do I think it's going to slow down? No, I really don't. I don't. I can see, and you can see lots of other established businesses looking at this.
There's loads more players now. There's established businesses now maybe doing a hybrid.
And investing as well and dabbling, isn't it, into different areas.
And saying, well, actually, as a corporate even or a big independent, why not have paid negs, listers and branch managers, and also self-employed people that go out and do wider territory.
I think also as well, I've been chatting to loads of them over the past 6 to 12 months, like mortgage brokers and solicitors who are self-employed mortgage brokers that are going, actually, in my hometown, I could be doing this. I could be doing the viewings. I could be doing negotiations as well as doing, with all the referrals that you get, etc. So I think we'll find that there'll be more of those type of people coming who don't want to be an estate agent, that are not interested in going to a countrywide, for instance, and sitting in a high street estate agency office. They're already within the sector and they're going, I can do 2 or 3 listings a month because
maybe the way forward is a cushion. I mean, what do you think about the thing that we saw a couple of weeks ago from the agency and Steph Walker, who, by the way, is on the next episode? Surely the way forward is to give agents a little bit of a comfort and give them some of the commission up front.
Yeah, I mean, we...
Don't hold back, Alice.
Well, we actually do offer a loan. So Nested does actually offer a support loan. It's our money. It's interest-free. The repayment terms on that are extremely clear. We always say to people, use it as a fallback, as a safety net. If in like month 4, month 5, you feel like you just need something to get you through it. So I'm not opposed to that, but I think that, the 30% seems very high, and I would worry if I was becoming a self-employed estate agent to rely on that, because 30% is a lot of money.
Do you think some people take the 30% and that's all they're going to be interested in having, and then they'll just cut and run after 6 months?
Yeah, but then I think for that person, I'm assuming they're going to have to pay it back. I mean, I don't know. I think the actual ins and outs of that have been very, very vague.
It's advanced commission, isn't it? So you don't pay it back, I guess, if your deal completes, because then you take your 35% balance on completion. But the question is, what happens if you leave? What happens if the deal falls through? And we all know that 30 to 40% of deals do fall through.
Yeah, and that's a very high percentage, and we're talking in some cases thousands.
Quite a brave play, do you think, from Steph?
I don't know the ins and outs.
You're being very diplomatic.
I'm being very diplomatic because actually there's been no communication. I mean, maybe by next week there will be, but there's been no communication as to what that loan, because it's a loan, calling it advance, but it is a loan.
Well, let's see what Steph says. She'll obviously justify herself.
We've definitely got one viewer for episode 4.
Can we talk about women?
I think what I would love you to ask her is what are the repayment terms? And when it comes to giving a loan, it has to be black and white. It can't be like, in this case, we might do this or we might do that. I'd be very, very, very wary.
I'm going to move you on from that point, because that will come out hopefully in the next conversation. You mentioned earlier about being judged on which car you had. How have you been judged, and how have you overcome that in your rise to the top?
Oh, that's a good question.
I suppose, what challenges have you overcome?
Challenges. Well, look, I've been very fortunate enough to work with leaders who are people who are very, very clear on creating a company full of diversity. And I think that is something that, unfortunately, within our industry, we do unfortunately lack. I think there's been some fantastic strides over the last few years, especially. But we are unfortunately an industry that I think are a bit behind the times. Challenges wise, I think sometimes, someone said to me the other day that I was quite young. And I was a bit like, oh, okay, well, thanks.
Too young to be an MD.
Too young. And I think the imposter syndrome for me, we talk about it a lot, and I'm glad that as an industry we talk about it, because I think everyone gets it. That's probably my imposter syndrome, is maybe young and what some people would like to switch as being inexperienced. You know, I haven't got 20 years in the estate agency experience, in the estate agency industry. Does that make
closer.
me, I'm getting there. But does that make me less likely to succeed? Absolutely not.
No, but Alice,
I'd say it makes you more connected.
Well,
Thank you.
Yes, but also I would argue that if you have been, people can say this is controversial, Russ, if you have been a manager at Spice of Heart or Countrywide or wherever for 20 years, and you think therefore that 20 years experience counts for everything, all I would say is all you've probably done, as is the old adage, you've repeated 1 year 20 times. 20 years experience in the estate agency actually means you're probably dyed in the wool. You're probably a bit stale. I think it needs not just younger people, but people from different backgrounds, people that actually want to disrupt and innovate and actually do things a bit differently, rather than running estate agency businesses almost the same as we were in the 1970s, which I'm afraid does apply to some of the big corporates and some of the bigger independents. So we should applaud that approach, that innovation.
Yeah, I love that. I think I've heard you say that before, and I couldn't agree more. You know, people love to push other people down who don't succeed or don't make it. But it's like, in order to move, again, we talk about in order to move forward, you need to take a step back. Actually, sometimes people that are pushing the boundaries and they are going out there and putting themselves forward, if they don't succeed, first of all, they're going to have learned a lot that they can then take on to the next thing. But then that's going to mean someone else is going to learn from them and then take whatever they've got and push that forward. And that's as an industry, exactly, as an industry.
But we are a society and an industry that loves to criticise failure. They love to see people that succeed that they think they can emulate, but they also love, take it from me, someone that's perceived to have done quite well and then falls on their sword. People love it. They love it. Clap. And that's not the right attitude. In the United States and Australia and elsewhere, failure is seen as part of your journey. And that's, I think we've got to start getting a bit more realistic about the benefits of failure to get to the other side. So for instance, we talked about, Matt Robinson, your boss, failing on the original nested model. So what? Michael and Kenny Bruce, we can talk about their success at Purple Bricks a lot, but they'll be the first to admit, well, Boomin definitely didn't work out. Birchall Edwards went into administration. They bought it back, sold it Connells. Success is littered with the journey of failures. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah,
I completely agree. It does make me sad when I see sometimes like the wrong attitude, the flip side of what you've just said. And nested, we've pushed boundaries, we keep pushing boundaries. We've been scrappy in the past. I've learnt loads. I've failed at certain things within nested myself before. Like I said, like it makes you stronger. And who are people to judge people that actually put themselves out there and decide to start
you were saying earlier, one of your bugbears, Alice, is the social media, where in the race to the top, people are trampling over people left, right, and centre. It's one of your bugbears.
It's really unkind. Actually, I've seen it quite a lot recently. I've also been subjected to a bit of it myself, and it does knock you. And it's a few things have knocked my confidence over time, but it does really upset me, actually, sometimes the way that people do go about things on social media. And actually really, like some of the comments that I see, it's like they're not hiding behind the screen. And we all know about like the people on Property Industry Eye, like they're fine. They're fine. But actually sometimes, LinkedIn is a great social platform for people to have an opinion. Opinions are not wrong, right? They can't be wrong because it's someone's opinion.
Everyone likes their own.
Everyone likes their own, equally, everyone thinks their opinion is right. But that's totally fine. If you've got a different opinion, you're more than okay to express it. You've just got to do it in the right way. And if someone challenges you on something, don't react in like an awful way possible and try and push them down. Like everyone's entitled to an opinion. And unfortunately, I think more so over the last like 6 months or so, LinkedIn is becoming a little bit like the property industry,
but
where
you know, the
people are being quite nasty.
People that make caustic, nasty personal comments, generally those comments and those people are not worth listening to.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain people in the industry that I definitely listen to and I respect. And I'll be the first to admit, actually, if I was to kind of disagree with them, fall out with them or whatever, that would be a thing, right? But there are lots of others that I couldn't give a toss about. Surely you feel the same about people trolling you.
I think I'm getting better at it. I am, but I'm definitely not sitting here going, I feel like totally confident in who you are. I hope I get to that point and I'm on my own journey with that. But there are some times where things can knock your confidence a little bit. And I can see...
We're all human, aren't we?
Exactly. And I think, be really open about that. And I'm working on it, but I'm not quite there yet.
We
so
need
be
to
kind.
wrap up.
Yeah, I was going to say, Alice, this is your opportunity for a nested pitch, because I realised suddenly we're at the end of the podcast almost. So what would your elevator pitch be for anyone interested in nested?
Well, look, if you consider yourself to be a best estate agent in the UK, then I want to talk to you, because I do believe that we can give you the support to be successful. I'm only interested in partnering with people where I believe that they are going to be extremely successful. We've got the team behind us. We've got the technology behind us. We give you 75% commission, and we've got a platform fee of £125 a month for both sales and lettings. Just have a chat with us. Like, don't not have a call with me before you decide to go on with another model.
What an advert. That was
we go.
great, wasn't
Yeah.
it? It's almost
That
like
was
you
a long
scripted
elevator.
it. Yeah.
That was a long elevator pitch.
It was.
We've got
Alice,
the shard.
thank you. That was brilliant, fantastic. Keep being successful, because you
Thank
are.
you.
Don't be deterred by the Muppets. Take it from me.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. And do you know what? I think it's very refreshingly honest that you said right at the outset, this isn't about nested. Building its part up in terms of volume.
Yeah.
It's not about always being the biggest. There is a place for that.
Yes.
So, certain models, whether they're self-employed or others, it's all about market share and it's all about growth and so on. It's interesting that you've shied away from that. So, no, we're going to be a bit different. We don't need to be over here. Yeah. We're much more about productivity, quality and so on. So good for you. Good for you.
Thank you. Thanks so
Fantastic
much for having
conversation.
me.
Really enjoyed it.
I really
Okay,
enjoyed
so
it
that's
too.
it for episode 3. Episode 4 coming up with another stalwart, another big hitter in the industry. But for now, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.